up, guys? It is Micah. We are back with another lesson, and this is going to be the final session of me and Seth, at least for this series. And we're going to be talking a little bit about private lessons. Now, a lot of people take private lessons. A lot of people don't take private lessons. They can oftentimes get a bad rap, but I do want to say they can be very beneficial for guitar players. Now, oftentimes, like I said, they get a bad rap because they can be expensive, and a lot of people find that they don't get a lot of help out of them, and I understand that, and that's very true. I've had the same experience myself. But what I want to talk about here and after, I want to talk about how they actually can help you shortcut a whole lot of time off of your guitar journey, because you're able to take advantage of someone else's hard work. The work that they might have spent 3 years learning, they're able to dish it out to you very quickly. But oftentimes you have to have the right instructor for you to help you in order to help you do this. So we're about to start the session with me and Seth, and then I'm going to come back at the end of that and I'm going to give you 6 traits of a good guitar instructor, so that you can, if you are taking lessons, you can kind of make a decision on how good of a job is my instructor actually doing, and build your confidence in him or her. Or you may decide that maybe my instructor doesn't really care a whole lot and he's not really helping me as much as he could be. And in that case, you should find a new instructor, somebody that can actually help you and will actually help you. So we're going to be back with those 6 traits right after this interview, and I will see you then. Oftentimes I'll have questions and I'll come in and I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And you always have something good to say, because just like you said, you've put in so much work already, which is what helps other people. You've already put in a lot of work, and you've also figured out some things that other people can try and figure out on their own, or they can have the guidance from somebody who's already figured a lot of it out to shortcut a lot of those steps. They can't necessarily shortcut playing itself, but a lot of the brain work and figuring that kind of stuff out, I'm a firm believer that it can be shortcut with the right help, the right guidance.
So I try and do that kind of stuff always. Whenever I teach anybody, I kind of, and especially my own, I was a self-taught, so I'm my first student. You know what I mean? So my approach has always been, we're going to make this as simple as possible to understand. Especially the farther and farther that you get into playing music, any level of music theory is going to be super confusing at first. It's literally in Latin. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's hard. It can be hard for people to understand it at the beginning. But I tell people all the time, it's like, you kind of got to just fight through it. You'll have that aha moment where all this stuff is going to make sense one day,
Yeah.
You just kind of got to, find out how it makes sense to you. So it kind of gets to the point of treating people like an individual when they come in to do any kind of lesson, because, one guy might understand it this way, the other guy might understand it the complete opposite way, but it's up to you as the teacher to make that person, or hopefully make that person understand, So even in my own playing, I try and come around things a million different ways, right? If we can do it this, I'd say this all the time in my lessons. If we can do it this way, then that means we can do it another way. But like I said, I always try and keep things as simple as possible. Revert it back to something, right? Take larger pieces of information and chunk them down into simpler things that you can recall. Because if you're playing, a lot of the times, man, these are things you got to remember in split seconds.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, so you got to kind of take all that, and if people are trying to remember a 6-note phrase, it's like it's hard to remember 6 notes, but it's not hard to train yourself those 6 notes and then you remember the first one. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like you chunk down the information, make it as simple as possible for you to or whoever it might be to comprehend. And that can be a test of the teacher too. But what I always try and do, because I want people to understand it. I always use the idea of I want to make musicians. I want people to be musicians. I don't want people to be guitar players. Guitar players, are famous for, this is a G chord, this is a C chord, and that's all they know, kind of stuff. Yep. We kind of want to install some knowledge, some understanding, really, when it comes to music, because this stuff it's not rocket science. It can be confusing, but it's not that hard. It's not, that weird. You just got to know what to look for, what to listen for,
and what connections to make, where to make them. All right. Now, we said a lot in a pretty short amount of time, and what I want to do right here is to kind of just retouch on some of those things and actually add a few more things, because a lot of times folks are taking lessons, or they have instructors, or they have taken lessons before, and they weren't sure if they were really helping them, or if they're looking for an instructor that are really not sure what to look for. So what I want to do is kind of give you some tools so that you can see whether your instructor is actually helping you as much as he could be. And oftentimes you could just, as a student, you can bring these things to their attention to help them to actually become a better instructor for you as well. So what I have for you here is 6 traits of a good guitar instructor. Now, trait number 1, and this is probably the biggest one. A good guitar instructor always has a big picture in mind for you, a much bigger picture in mind for you. So they're not only following your questions, because oftentimes your questions will be like a long detour off to somewhere that may not really connect, or it might not be time for you to be learning some of these things because that you heard on a random video somewhere. It might just be taking up your time and not helping you grow faster for where you are just yet. It might not be time for that. And if your instructor has your game plan already set, they will be able to spot these in your questions and give you what they can answer. They may answer pieces and bits, but they're also going to let you know that this is this way or whatever, but this is really not contributing to our goal, where we're really wanting to go. This will come into play later down the road. And also, having this big picture in mind, it reassures you that they're always giving you the next step, or the next 2 or 3 steps. Okay, so that those steps are in place. They know how to get you where you're going. And they're always showing you the shortest route possible. So you're not just doing random things. You're going from here to here. You want to go like that. You don't want to do all these random turns, and that's kind of what those random questions can do, and thoughts, and oh, here's a cool thing, oh, here's another cool thing, oh, here's another cool thing, here's another thing you don't know that's not really contributing to the base or the core that you need at wherever you're at. Different level students are at different points, and certain things are going to benefit you at different times. But just giving students random things here and there that they don't know yet is not usually helping them. So you want to make sure that your guitar instructor has the big picture in mind for you. Number 2, they know what you need to know and also what you don't need to know. This kind of goes back to that number 1 again, and a few of these actually do kind of go back to number 1. That's why it's number 1. But along that journey, as you're moving, they're giving you these exercises, they're teaching you these songs, they're teaching you these chords, they're teaching you these scales, or whatever's going. They're also going to be giving you these small bits of information that you're pointing at. We're not just showing you how to do this thing, but there are things about this thing that you need to know that are going to contribute to your knowledge as a musician. So as you become a better player, you're also getting the knowledge that you need that's making you a smarter player, helping you to understand things. So they know what you need to know. And they also know what you don't need to know, which can be something that's just way up here. It's way beyond where you are. It's not time for that yet. It will be in the future at some point, or they're not just teaching you some lick or some riff or some technique that's just impossible for you to do right now. They're teaching you things that are more on your level, things that you don't need to know, and they can tell you that. They can tell you this is not, they'll say, no, it's not time, but they say, here's what's going on. Here's the little bit of information about it, but really, this is off topic. This is not really going to contribute to where we are going. Again, like I said, kind of goes back to point number 1, but still important to point out. They know what you need to know, and they know what you don't need to know. Trait number 3, they tell you not to do some things. They're going to tell you not to do some things. If they never tell you not to do anything, then they're not really paying attention. They're not really paying attention, because all players are doing something wrong at some point in time. Now, you're not trying to beat your students down. As an instructor, I always allow my students to, especially in the beginning, because you have to allow students to do a lot of things wrong, a lot of things bad, or they would never get off the ground. But over a certain amount of time, they bring in okay, we've been doing it like this. Now it's time to not do it that way and start doing it this other way. We allowed you to do it like that for a certain amount of time until you built up this certain amount of form, this certain amount of strength, or whatever it might be. But now it's time to no longer do it like that. And it could be a number of different things. They can be shortcuts to playing chords. It can be shortcuts to stretching and reaching. It can be shortcuts to allowing sloppy playing. It could be so many different things. Holding your pick one way versus another for different ideas. There's a lot of things. And at some point, we all do things wrong. I've had to undo things throughout my life. Somebody eventually had to tell me, hey, Micah, you should be doing what you're doing. You should not be doing it like this, but you should be doing it like that, because it's better because of this. If you do it like this, you will see this begin to happen. And a good instructor is going to be able to tell you to do that. So they will tell you not to do some things. If you don't have them ever tell you not to do anything, then they probably don't know what they're not going to know what's hindering you further down the road, and they're not watching for things that are hindering you right now. Number 4, you should feel confident in them. Not they should be confident in themselves, but you should feel confident in them. And not just in their skill, but in their ability to teach and help you. And that confidence is confidence in having an instructor that knows where they are taking you. You can tell just through what you're doing in each new lesson. You can tell they have a plot, they have a plan, they have something set out. They see what you're doing, where you've been, what you've been doing, how it's going, how it's coming along, and then they're like, okay, now we're here, this is what we need to do now. There's a clear path. And when you start to see that clear path, that's going to build confidence in you, in them. So you should have a confidence growing about them leading you. You may not know what the end of the journey looks like, but they've been there already, and they've helped other people get there as well. So you're confident that they know where they are taking you. And knowing that your instructor cares and that they know what they're doing and they know where they're taking you is oftentimes going to be the deciding factor of whether you quit or not, or whether you change paths just before a breakthrough, which happens a lot. You're trudging along, you're not seeing anything happening, and then after a while you just get wore out because you don't know where the end of the road is. Okay, you don't know how far you got to go. You don't realize that your destination, your big aha moment or whatever, was just around that corner up there, because you've already been around like 3 or 4 corners already, and there was nothing there but more journey, no victory. But the confidence of your instructor is going to help you to move there. He's going to be like, look, don't stop yet. We are almost there. Okay, don't stop yet. We're getting there. Trust me, just a little bit further. And that'll help you to move just a little bit further so that you will get those victories. And those victories are important. They are actually what keep us going as guitar players. Every little victory that you get is the strength that helps you to move forward into a new level. So having that confidence in them is huge. And number 5, your instructor should be able to break things down to your level. You should be able to do what you're learning. If he's only having you to do new things every week that you can't do, or things that you don't know yet, he's showing you another new thing all the time, you can't retain that. Things need to be broken down into pieces that you can manage, you can understand, and that you can use. I had an instructor one time teaching me something as a very early player. I came into a lesson and he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, hey, here's a cool lick. You want to learn how to do this? Brrr. I don't even remember what it was, but it was insanely hard. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. And so he shows me how to do it. He tabs it out. He does it this and that. Well, I worked on it for month after month after month. And I'm saying months. I worked on this. I never got it. Eventually I just quit. I gave up on it. It wasn't time. There was no reason for him to teach me what he was teaching me at the time. I couldn't use it. I didn't really understand it. I didn't have the right technique, the form. There was nothing there for me to be able to do that. All he says is, hey, this is how you do it. Go practice it. That's not a good instructor. Good instructors do not do that. Good instructors break things down into manageable pieces and they make sure that you can do and use the manageable pieces, and then you grow those at that point. If it's an impossible type solo, you can learn things lick for lick for lick for lick, but that's really not usually the fastest way, because it takes you X amount of time to just memorize these things. Oftentimes it's better to take a piece here, a piece there, a piece here, and a piece there, and also to recognize the structure that lies underneath, like the chord structure. What is this solo following, rather than just doing that. And oftentimes that'll put a player in the correct places on their fretboard without them trying to remember how to play this lick and how to get to this and that, here and there and whatnot. But to break things down into manageable sections that are actually going to cause them to grow as a player much quicker and not just learn a single idea. So a good instructor can break things down into pieces that you can do, that you can use, and that you understand. And number 6, and this is a big one that Seth hit on, are they teaching you to be a musician, or are they just teaching you to be a guitar player? And for all of you out there who are teaching yourself guitar, that's something that you need to answer for yourself as well. Are you teaching yourself just to be a guitar player, just how to play songs, just how to play these chords and this and that? Or are you teaching yourself to be a musician? And a good instructor is always teaching his students to be a musician. And that's what we do here as well. We're always, all along the way, we are teaching our students to be musicians, not just guitar players. Because guitar players play with other musicians, and they need to understand music. They need to understand how things work, and they need to understand how to use their guitar. And this is something that I start almost immediately. Yeah, we cover fundamentals and basics in the beginning, but along the way, even while we're doing very simple things, we're introducing the concepts. We're building that knowledge of theory and notes and all these kinds of things, why things work, how they work along the way, so that in 2 years you're not just strumming chords. You understand your guitar. Okay, you understand what it's about, how people use it, how people know what to do. If you're getting, you could start learning these things in 2 or 3 years once you can already play, or you can start it immediately, and then in 2 or 3 years you're that much better, because not only have you got all the same practice in, but you've also got all the knowledge in that you know how to use more. And that's what a good instructor, at least in my opinion, a good instructor should always be teaching his students to be musicians, not just guitar players. So that is the final trait of the good guitar instructor. Number 1, a good guitar instructor always has a much bigger picture in mind for you specifically. Number 2, he knows what you do need to know and what you don't need to know at your current level. Number 3, he tells you not to do some things sometimes. Number 4, you should feel confident in them and what they have you doing. Number 5, they're able to break things down as much as they need to for your abilities, for your level and for your abilities. And of course, number 6, are they teaching you to be a musician or just teaching you to play guitar? That's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and leave us a comment if you have any questions or anything like that below. Share it with your friends if you think somebody might benefit from it, or if they're looking for lessons or anything like that. And also, if you are looking for lessons, if you need an instructor, we teach, okay? We do virtual lessons here. So click the link below, fill out the quick little form, and we'll be in contact with you via email, and we can set something up. We'd love to have you. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. We'll see you real soon.